Basically, in the preliminary stage, when we first heard about it, we thought it was a joke. It was like a floating swimming pool. I mean, here in South Louisiana, I mean, anywhere there's water, you can pretty much swim, you know, so.
Yeah, Bollinger's been in existence for 60 years this year, and we've built over 1,000 vessels for the marine industry and repaired and converted tens of thousands of vessels in our history. This floating pool project is probably one of the most unique projects we've ever tackled.
You need me to boom up a little bit where you can get more flow on the bars, or you good right there?
There's something that's very appealing to me about taking on projects that just seem too difficult to do, too unrealistic.
My name is Ann Buttenwieser. I am the founder and the president of the Neptune Foundation, which I created to build a floating swimming pool for the city of New York.
Well, this is a big problem. The diagonals are not exactly equal, and this might present a big problem when it comes to laying out our pavement pattern. So we've got to confront the yard probably this afternoon.
Let's say 39 and a 3902, 3906. 3906, that's a half-inch difference.
We need to be relatively right on, at least in terms of things being square. As you and I imagine, they're pretty close on a lot of it, but they twisted it, and they're not exactly square sitting on the top. So I want to see how bad this is going to be.
I would recommend whatever papers you try to cut it to fit. I mean, as far as this 1/4-inch plate,
yeah.
I mean, if you try to cut this loose, you know, you ain't. I mean, you won't have nothing left. It's gonna warp.
Can we live with it in one or two cases? Yeah, I think so. If it's right on a line between the 8 inches and the 2'4", yeah, we're gonna have a little coronary. I mean,
This has been an extraordinarily difficult project. It has involved changing whether it was going to be cement or a brand new steel barge or a used barge. We went for the used barge. We have had delays that are just uncountable, mainly due to Hurricane Katrina.
Effects of Katrina on our facilities, on our workforce, were extremely tough in the middle of this conversion project. We lost a tremendous number of our employees, many of whom didn't return.
Any project that you're doing for the public sector, funded through a variety of charities and private donors, takes a while to put together. The money raising was one issue.
We also have had delays just because the design is very complicated. It's never been done before.
So in this particular case, Anne found an architect. I mean, 7 years later, I can't say this is a lucrative project. There's no way I've been in it for the money. I had carte blanche to do what I wanted to do as long as I could meet the budget. So for me, this is why I'm an architect, to take on projects like this. These are, in maritime construction, these are called stiffeners. These are welded angles that are stitch welded to the side of plate. This whole wall will be covered with a series of dyed cement board strips. And there'll be a set of lockers on each side of this wall with a little bench in between. And in each one of these little locker niches, we have a skylight. It won't have any glass over it. And light should be able to bounce around and dribble in. And these will be a series of kind of childlike houses that kids get to change in and play in before they go down to the pool itself. About a year from now, this whole area is going to be filled with screaming kids doing cannonballs into a 4-foot deep pool. It's 25 meters long, 50 feet wide. There'll be 7 lanes. And this will be filled with lounge chairs. Folks will be relaxing, looking out over the East River. We are planning to open the pool to the public in 2007, Memorial Day. And as of now, we're on schedule.
I have days when I am so discouraged I wanted to, as I say, throw the baby out with the bathwater. But this is a fabulous project, and it's something that I have wanted to do now for 26 years, and we are going to do it. I'm a historian of New York City, and I found this floating pool, or was floating bath, in doing research for a history. I believe that that context is very, very important in what we're doing today. This isn't just a modern, gorgeous pool that's being brought to New York City. This is a piece of New York City that we are recreating. In a way, it's not exactly what we had, because the old ones you actually swam in the river, but the history is very important. It's very important for the children who use this facility to know that in fact these once existed in the 19th century here in New York. This is Castle Clinton, and these are the very earliest floating baths. The original ones there were 2 of them down at the Battery. They were privately run by 2 dentists, and they were used to bring people to refresh themselves in the sea, the salt air. It was supposed to make them healthier. And believe it or not, there were once 15 floating baths, as they were then called, in the city, and they were placed outside of the tenement districts. There was an Irish bath, and there was a German bath, and there was an Italian bath, and they didn't mix. These were actual pools that were on sort of pontoon structures that had dressing rooms. And in the center, in the early days, they had river water in them. At their high point, ironically, they were closed down because the health department discovered, by placing red dye in one of the sewers in the Lower East Side, it ended up down at the Battery in one of the pools. They closed up the bottoms of the pools and did reopen them within a year, but there were only 5 that were retrofitted and reopened. The last floating pool was closed in 1935. There were 3 of them that Robert Moses kept when he was building the West Side Highway. The community over there had been closed off from going to the river, and he put 3 of the baths together and created a club for the people, the residents of the Upper West Side. I spoke with him before he died, and I said, "How come you didn't keep them?" He said, "I got money to build in-ground pools. We didn't need them anymore."
By the fall of 2006, our shaped roofs were painted, the fixtures were in. It really started to look like the project that we designed, and I was very, very excited about it. The idea of floating a building or floating a project up to New York and having a piece of architecture enter the harbor of New York City after a trip from down south. As an architect, my buildings stay still. And this was the first opportunity I had to make architecture that moved.
When the barge arrived in New York, it was late and we had been waiting for it all afternoon. I jumped up and down and screamed. I said, "There it is, there she is, she's here." And everyone said, "How do you know that's her?" And I couldn't miss it because I knew what the structures were and what they looked like. And furthermore, you could actually see the pool from where we were standing. And it had water in it from the Gulf.
I'm not asking you to conform to New York City code or any code. I'm asking you the question of, will there be sewer gas? This is a unique job for us because it's on a barge, a ship, and I've never had to do plumbing on a ship, and that shouldn't make it that much different, but it does. It's unique. We've done buildings over water. We've worked under buildings. And the problems related to this are very interesting. The need is to first satisfy somebody that you're not going to get sewer gas or you can get sewer gas. The other part... What a unique... listen, it's absolutely beautiful. We're in Lower New York Bay. We're looking across at the Manhattan skyline. You got a swimming pool. You're on the water. You got the city on one side. The juxtaposition is absolutely tremendous. I like it. Great idea.
Oh, it's like nothing I've ever worked on before. I can't think of anyone who said, "Oh yeah, I know all about that type of thing, I'll help you out." Everyone's like, "Whoa, okay, that's interesting."
Concept of the boat, a pool on water is strange. Very strange, you know?
Well, it's the first I have really seen, so I kind of like it. Before I thought about it, I didn't really see the sense in it, but now to really see everything else that it's really doing, you know, I think it's fun.
As long as they study the boats, I think it's going to be great. I would guess they're going to stationize this at some point.
Now, we said they're going to move it to different areas.
Are they going to?
Yes, where kids don't have pools and stuff like that in the area.
Are they?
Yeah, that's what he was saying just now.
Yeah, make sure it's steady and anchored real good.
Steady and anchored real good.
Yeah.
It should be fun.
What happens if they don't?
Well, you get a little...
queasy maybe a little bit sometimes, but
sick, but
when you have fun, I don't think it'll make much of a difference, you know.
You guys, has it gotten rough enough out here where you felt a little queasy?
Maybe Monday, Tuesday.
Early morning when there's a lot of traffic on the water, you know, like the ferries going back and forth and all the other ships.
It's a good concept. I like the concept. And plus it's good for kids, you know, who don't have pools in their area and stuff like that. That's cool. Keep them out of the street, keep them out of trouble. I'm all for it.
So we finally bring it to New York. All you've got to do is add water. It's a pool. It'll happen. As it turns out, though, a whole bunch of regulatory agency approvals were necessary. Construction issues were way behind schedule, and we still didn't have a site as to where to put the pool or whether we were going to even open it in summer 2007.
The questions were, people are going to jump over, people are going to fall off the gangways, people are going to drown in 4 feet of water, they're going to slip, and they're going to break their legs.
Well, it's a pretty unorthodox use of a barge, and so it generally produces a bit of chuckling when I speak to underwriters about it.
Nobody wanted to give us insurance this summer because nobody had ever figured out that there could be a pool on a barge. The Neptune Foundation was fined $20,000 by the State Department of Environmental Conservation. They are in charge of things that are in the water, in New York State waters. This was very frustrating very frustrating for us. We didn't quite know what we could do to convince them that this was the beginning of opening up New York City's waterfront to recreation. There's one other project which I'm going to be starting very shortly, which is a book about this whole process. I think it's a very good learning experience for other people, and it's going to be called No Good Deed Goes Unpunished. Years ago, when I had the idea of doing a floating pool, I would go to meetings with city officials, with community groups, and they would say, "Oh, here's the floating pool lady." And it came time to name it, and Jonathan said, "Oh, Ann, you just have to call it the floating pool lady." So that's how it got named.
In the process of redesigning the barge, we were a little saddened to have lost the history of it being a cargo barge. And what we've been able to do is literally to drop the surface of that cargo barge. And you can see as we walk remnants, reminders of its variety of voyages. When it's filled, it's almost a magnifying glass. The water magnifies this history. The next summer, after we'd brought it up from Louisiana, we still had no site and no real commitment until Empire State Development Corporation gave Ann a call and said, "We want to do it, and we want to do it in Brooklyn Bridge Park."
Brooklyn Bridge Park is going to be the largest new development of a park in New York City in this century. One of the concerns is, since it's a long-range project, how do we get people into the park for the summer?
It's really that sense of government stepping up and saying, let's do it. And my experience has been, for my 15 years on this site, is, we come up with a great idea, the community, let's do this. And whoa, oh no, that's scary. No. Oh, there's liability and insurance and what do the police say? And oh no, political problems.
We have the backing of the governor, the backing of everyone who's involved in this process. And the role I took is I was told, make it happen.
Oh my God, holy shit, they said yes, let's do it. And they said, make it happen. And who, me?
"26 years ago, I saw a drawing of children swimming in these funny structures, and I really had no idea of what this was going to be, and furthermore, I had no idea of what it was going to entail to make it be. There's been a lot of water over the dam, and we're still not there.
I'm supposed to sign the license agreement today. Contractors go on the site tomorrow. We've got less than a month, but we're going to get it done.
I simply had to say, yes, I'm going to get this done by July 4th. I had absolutely no idea how I was going to do it. Everything's coming together very, very quickly. This is what we call a charrette. It's all out, deadline, and it has to get done by July 4th. We've got all the electeds, that's what they're called. The electeds are coming on July 3rd to cut the ribbon. Lighting fixtures are being installed now, and the raised concrete deck is being finished.
It was crazy. Everybody was scurrying around. People were very polite to each other, but there was a lot of yelling, get this done, come on, you've forgotten to put this in.
No, seriously, we sent this drawing. How can they decide to put the 4 on one? The final phase of the pavilions up here is what we call the cladding phase. We're cladding all of the little buildings that we've made with concrete board. But what happens if we're ready to, we want to open on the 4th, they do their walkthrough on the 3rd and they find 4 or 5 things that need to be corrected?
They better be corrected in a hurry, because they have to sign the back of the permit to operate.
It's been a long haul. I have to say that I feel a sense of gratification. I ultimately think it's luck. We architects are huge fakers. We have absolutely no idea what it's going to feel like, whether the scale is correct, whether the various pieces work together, whether it has a coherence, whether it sings, whether it feels good.
I'd seen a model, but that doesn't really mean too much. And the day that I came to the opening, and it was so gorgeous. I mean, anybody who saw that pool commented on the architecture. It was so beautifully done.
By the time the last day arrived, we were depending on a DOH approval.
Once the barge was finished, we had to get approval from the Department of Health.
So that was an amazingly anxious moment for us, although I must say I kept it to myself as much as possible because I didn't want to freak the rest of the people out who were depending on opening it.
We've been here all week, so we've seen this place go from no tiled floors to something, and all week we've been saying, I don't know.
Are you ready, kids? I had to say that. It's what a great day this is. Who could believe this day has come? It takes people of extraordinary vision to get things done, and I want to just be sure that we salute the vision and the tenacity of Ann Buttenwieser for envisioning a waterfront that would bring people back and take away the commerce that has dominated it for 400 years, ever since the Dutch set up shop here.
Brooklyn is famous for its bridges, and this project represents one of the best kinds of bridges there is. A bridge between the public and private sector, creating a partnership that gets things done for the betterment of all.
Standing with me is Ann Buttenwieser, the president of the Neptune Foundation. And the woman whose 20-year vision has bound us all together.
And it'll come back. We hope it'll come back to other parks. For instance, Barretto Point Park in the South Bronx. And the South Bronx has no swimming pools.
It wasn't until an hour and a half before we opened to the public that we got a final okay from the Department of Health.
We want to road test this year. If it works in Brooklyn, it can work for the Bronx.
They relented and said, yes, you've met the requirements, let them on. An hour later, the place was packed and the kids were in the pool. And then finally, the beautiful moment of seeing colored shirts on kids sitting up on the stadium steps and folks jumping in the water it was delightful.
Well, normally it takes 9 months to gestate and give birth to a baby. My baby took 27 years, and here it is, hooray.
It would be wonderful if another city took this on and decided that they would like to have one. It's an idea that can be done inexpensively, much more inexpensively than building an in-ground pool.
Our hope, though, is that this could be a model for how you provide swimming pools for underserved communities where there isn't the space to build a new pool or there isn't the resources. this is a great solution. The city's got hundreds of miles of waterfronts, and we're hoping to bring it to the South Bronx next year. We're working with this city DEP to get some connections for that and get a pier rebuilt.
And whether any more of these could take place, it's an unknown now. As far as New York is concerned, that really depends on how the city and the state work together on developing the waterfront, the rest of the waterfront. Looking back on all of this, I'm very glad that I persisted. We had 50,000 people use the pool. A crazy idea, but well worth doing. The best moment was seeing the looks on the faces in the pool. And there was an amazement that here was something that was free, and this was an opportunity for people to be happy and to enjoy themselves. And I wouldn't give that up for a moment.
Finally, the summer's over. It's a big success. Tremendous amount of satisfaction from my end. But when I had to watch the pool leave our berth on Brooklyn Bridge Park and go off to its winter home in Bayonne, I really felt kind of lost for a while, until I got back to projects that had been neglected for some time, because that one was so much fun to work on.
The best thing that could happen is that our waterways got cleaned up and we got rid of the combined sewer outlets. And then we could do this very simply. You wouldn't have to have a large barge. You could have something that is just big enough to hold the dressing rooms and a safe opening with a bottom, and you could swim in river water. That's my ideal.
A real return to the old.
Yes.